Today is May 18th, 2022. I decided to come to like a little park area and sit for a while as I reflected on just nature and love and our surroundings. And I'm a weird person, I know. I'm very appreciative though. I had some breakfast. Since I purchased those chia seeds, I am hopeful to be able to use them. I had a craving for it. And pregnancy is kind of rough where you are so hormonal, you just really want what you want. And if you don't get that, then you're just going to have a fit. And I understand. It's very hard for me because I normally, I can refrain. I've got a lot of willpower and self-discipline to where I don't have to purchase things or want after things that I don't need. The only thing I technically needed this entire time being homeless was affording for my medicinal marijuana that helps stabilize my moods. And even like this morning, I took one tiny puff from a little bit of ashes that I have left over, and I feel very judged in that sense of why would you care what my child goes through when in actuality all these people that eat a bunch of contaminants and smoke cigarettes during pregnancy, and I've seen it firsthand. When I worked at Petco, one of the girls that worked in the grooming center, she was fully pregnant, would stand outside of Petco and smoke a cigarette. I'm sure there was a bunch of complaints that came in about it. And, you know, it's everybody's personal preference. I'm trying to keep my baby healthy and safe, but marijuana is the only thing I've really come in contact with that would truly have hurt it in that way. Plus maybe some shrooms. But, you know, that's because I've done shrooms before and everything, so what's the big deal? And it helps me with my post-traumatic stress disorder. So in turn, my chemical makeup, I'm sure it would help the child anyway, regardless. I've heard of a lot of good things happening from individuals utilizing these natural substances, and that's why I went the holistic route. And I am just very happy that I'm able to share my progress so far. And I mean, being 34 years old and I dress like a child sometimes and I act like a child, I don't really care what people presume. Even right now at the coffee shop, I was kind of irritated because the girl wasn't paying attention because I was so frumpy looking compared to all the people that come in there, I guess, because it was a fancier location. And she wasn't really listening. And I even told her, she said, "Oh, do you want it for here to go, your coffee?" Because I don't normally drink coffee either. But I decided I would do that. I'm going to be all hyped and then pass out later. I bet. I can already feel it. I'm getting really excited. And for no reason. As I don't really have caffeine or additives like that. I avoid a lot of everything. I've been sharing my story so people can realize who they're dealing with. Realize the type of person that they've deemed is an issue for them, or, you know, since they have a personal bias against certain things and discriminate. That's why I decided to start sharing my story, because I figured, you know, everybody goes through this here and there where they're mistreated for no reason. So the lady, I told her I wanted it for there so that I could, so I could have it in a ceramic mug, and they placed it into a to-go cup, and that made me feel inferior because I felt like, just because I'm in these shorts and everything and I'm, frumpy looking right now doesn't mean that that's entirely all of my character and all that. And I still tipped the 20%, so it wasn't that. But still, I spent $15 and some change this morning. I don't normally do that. I don't normally splurge on myself like that, spoiling myself. But since there is no man in the picture, since there's no father to this baby, I decided that I would be the father to the baby too. Like that I would take care of me and love me the way somebody else should be loving and caring for me. And everybody should love and care for themselves first before trying to get involved with someone else. And I knew that. That's why when I was dating, I rejected everyone, because I knew that they weren't making the attempts to give me the attention and affection that I deserved and craved. So, and I wasn't needy. A majority of it, I just avoided everyone. And that can be proven through a lot of the interactions that I had. And a lot of the, if anybody were able to pull that up from any conversations I've had through different apps and whatnot, I know that there's capability of doing it. So if there were proof for my story and my demeanor toward men, but then again, the conversations that I had prior to engaging sexually with Jason Wallace says it all. I wasn't seeking sex. My profile even stated that on there, like I'm trying to avoid it. And that's not fair to me, that I would have to carry someone's child that is off gallivanting and doing what he wants. And that's not fair to the woman, not at all. I never thought that I'd have to live through these circumstances. Never. I never thought that this would be my particular story this time around, And I feel like people don't understand me a lot of times because I speak so poetically, I speak so metaphorically and symbolically, and I get that people hate me due to my words, but my actions speak a lot louder than my words. I am a very calm and passive person. When I'm heightened, yes, I want to harm myself because I can't get through to the individuals that are abusing me or trying to harass me. So, but then it's like, fuck all the haters in that way. You can't go around listening to people that are trying to belittle you all the time, because then you end up over 300 pounds and stuck in your home with agoraphobia and, hoarding 10 dogs. And yeah, I lived through all of that. I understand that, but I tried to maintain as best I could, but I was overwhelmed and very depressed that, my family, I thought that I would have had, since I had a shitty childhood, that I would have a great marriage, and I'd made all the attempts. I didn't realize that I had placed so much effort into him in that way until I stepped back and realized, that's not right. What had happened was not right. What happened was really just detrimental to my overall psychological health and well-being as well. And that's the sad part, is that, you can't really trust anybody. Have a good day. But yeah, you can't really trust anybody in that sense. And the people that you think that are caring for you, they turn around and they abuse you. They harass you, they manipulate you and gaslight you and tell you these things, these words of love and compassion, and they never follow through. And I realized that years ago, and that's why I was avoidant of interacting with others. I feel like people don't really want to engage with my story because they realize how smart I am and how much I understand the situations, but I wasn't able to help it because I wasn't the type of person that would stand up and want to harm someone else in order to make gains out of it. And then now with my videos, people realize, oh my God, this is just a girl that had it really hard and that is trying her best, striving, for success, but doesn't have much to fall back on aside from just my overall, my character and I'm sorry if the wind is affecting the sound too, if you're getting a lot of that wind noise, but it is beautiful out here right now. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else at this very, very moment. Oh my God, they've got the cutest little chihuahuas. They're so cute. A lady walked past just a moment ago with some Pomeranian and another mixed dog. So cute. So cute. The little brown one reminds me of a Chihuahua I had growing up. His name was Beaner. Well, his father's name was something. Beaner was the offspring. Your dogs are so cute. But yes, so I used to have a couple of them, and then the one little one, her name was Coyota, because I named her after the dog that passed away. They're so cute. They're so little. The little boy's trying to find his right place to go to the bathroom. He's got to have the perfect spot. Aww. So, like I was saying about that, though, about the relationships that I had, been through, it was very difficult to... Yeah, it's beautiful. It's supposed to get up to 90, though, so enjoy it while it lasts. Have a good day. Lovely. Oh, he's so cute. He just wants to mark everything. The little dog. I wish I could get it on camera, but I don't like to be rude to people. And she's over there. She's trying to go. There's a little tan one too, and she's just... They love each other. Aww. That is so cute. I can't help but get sucked in when I see a lot of animals, because they usually want to interact with me as well, and it's really nice, because I didn't get that affection from humans that I get from animals. And people say it's because I'm mean to people, and it's like, I'm not mean first. There are times where I have to tell people, I have to push my energy off onto them, immediately. I am very, some people tell me that I'm intimidating, or that it's sort of, I'm sort of, what's the word I've been told? Tactless, lacking tact. And I don't really mind that. I enjoy just, plowing through with what I say, so that people can get an idea of where I'm coming from. And, boy, that coffee. Excuse me. It's a lovely day. The lady with the Pomeranian and that other dog are walking by again. That Pomeranian. They know when they're cute too. They know when people want to love all over them. That's why some of them have like that, where very standoffish, and they'll, what is that, sort of like flaunt it in front of you. Like they'll flirt with you, but they know that it's their choice whether or not you get to touch them. It's so cute. Kind of like what cats do, where they'll stand just far enough away just so that you can admire them. And that's how it is. Like, you can't just go around touching everything, or everybody's pets and whatever, or children. My mother would go around touching people's children as we were in stores, like little babies. One day, and I know it's because she's an alcoholic and on a bunch of medications and whatever, we were walking through Walmart one day, and this is when I was living with her, and I was always trying to corral her in the way that she was acting toward others, and how she was misbehaving in that sense of making herself out to be, what's the word? Making herself out to be some type of, shoot, there's a word for it. But just like, nobody wants you going up to their child and just like touching their little feet and everything like that, or getting your germs. We don't know what you were touching. You didn't have sanitizer on you. You've been touching all this and that. You were in your car. You don't sanitize your wheel of the car. There's dookie here and there and poop particles and whatever, and you're just gonna touch someone else's kid in the middle of a store. I would be pissed. That's why I always had a cover on my daughter's car seat, because I didn't want any weirdo psychopaths coming up and saying, oh, your baby's so cute, let me cough all over it and give it all my germs. Like, no thank you. I already understood that when I had my child. So even right now with the pandemic going on and whatever, I know I would keep the baby safe, away from a lot of toxicity. And even like the fact that it would be born in a hospital, I don't know about that. I'm nervous about that, because sanitation in hospitals is interesting. I've seen some things here and there, and I know that they don't sanitize certain aspects of everything. They don't sanitize the handles on the toilet seats that are used. They don't sanitize the seats or anything like that. So when the women go into like the gynecological offices and everything, you have to worry about, they don't have toilet seat covers. They don't have this and that. You're a hospital. You should be supplying that for each patient so that we don't contaminate one another. But instead, you have the same like pee cups, or the same sort of plates with used paper towel in between clients, in between patients, and you presume that those things aren't toxified. I don't want to touch someone, an HIV positive individual's urine or fecal matter or any of their blood or anything like that. So the fact that these things are just sort of, I don't know, and even the paper covers that are on the seats, they don't cover the entire seat. There's always a bit of the seat, that needs to be sanitized in between patients, but they don't do that. Instead, they just pull the paper down, and I'm thinking, don't you realize that everything we touch, everything we secrete, our dander, our sweat, everything like that accumulates? But people don't want to listen to me. So that's why I didn't really like going to the doctor either, because I could see these things. They have gloves there. I would sometimes grab some extra gloves for myself. Like, I deserve this because your clinic is gross. Okay, getting off on my tangents again. But, yeah, I feel like I'm very hopeful for what's to come, but I'm very scared and nervous because I don't really know what's going on. I just want it to be over with. I just want a safe place so I can go to, so I can call it my own in that way and not have to be scared when I go to sleep, worried that I'm gonna get tampered with in the middle of the night. And I wish I had my own dog to carry around with me so that it could help me through my times of stress. But no, everybody sees me as a fucking deviant. Everyone sees me as a monster. Everyone sees me as a child abuser or a dog abuser and all this and that. Things that aren't part of my classification, mind you. They're not part of what I am. Yet other people got away with slandering my name because they had money. And that's all it was. That's all it was. We all know that. And they were, vindictive in that way, where they knew that fighting in the courts would get me all these different criminal labels and whatever. So, whatever. If that's how you guys believe it and that's how you feel, then that's fine. We can go with that. And I'll just end up in prison soon. And that'll be fine. I don't care. Why would I care? My life has been over since I was born. And I already knew that. I knew that when I was born into that family that I was in danger my whole life, that I was never going to have the lifestyle that I was yearning for, that I was never going to have everything else everyone else had. So I had to get over my jealousies. I had to get over all of that, and that's fine. I'm not jealous of other people. I'm actually glad that they have that, because I would rather just suffer then. I mean, I already knew I was born into a world of suffering because every day was hell. My dad always threatened to kill us. My mother always threatened, this and that. Like, she didn't threaten to leave or anything, but she did threaten her own suicide attempts. So she's a hypocrite for sitting there talking about me. And it's interesting. It's very interesting, the fact that she didn't come to me the day that I was in the hospital, and the doctors, the nurses, they told her that I had had a suicide attempt, and she was like, I wash my hands of her. If she's going to continue to do that, then, blah, blah, blah. All right, then. Like, that's how you treat me. That's nice. It'll come back around on you when you're on, your deathbed here and there, and nobody wants to show up for you. There's nobody for you. And that's sad, because if only I could just forgive everything. If only I just had such a huge, pure heart like that, to where, and I did it for years, forgave everyone, because everyone told me I had to. Everyone said I had to do it. No, you don't. You do not have to forgive the people that sexually abused you. You don't have to forgive the people that have tried to kill you. You do not have to forgive the people that hate you for no reason and have vindictive, spiteful actions toward you. You don't have to forgive that. Those people are going to get their karma, and that'll be their forgiveness, and that, or that'll be whatever. So everyone made it out to be that I was the one that had to seek forgiveness. And I'm like, no, God has informed me. I've sought plenty of penance, and, respectfully have tried to adjust my lifestyle and my being so that I could reflect a more positive personality, a more positive, just character toward everyone. And I've never been a negative person. So the only people that talk back about my shit are the people that have abused me, or the people that didn't get their way with me, weren't able to manipulate me, or weren't able to take advantage of me. So they called me out on being this and that, and they started slandering, making up stuff, or I seen this and that. No, you didn't. Like, that's not how it went down. So like the same thing, with the whole rabies shots situation, you didn't see what the hell happened. My pit bull and I got in trouble for no reason. The reason that they asked me when when they came to my home, do all your dogs have rabies shots? And I was honest. And I said, no, they don't have the rabies shots. It wasn't even that we were at a location that they were being dangerous. It was the officers that asked me at my home. So that, again, that is another thing that I never realized, is that I had the freedom to lie to these motherfuckers, and it would have avoided all these criminal records. So I didn't want to do that, though. I wanted to be honest. I wanted to be transparent. I wanted to comply. I wanted to be helpful toward them, so they understood the whole aspect of everything. And I thought for sure that they would understand that I was actually the one being abused, and that's why I was overly truthful. But instead, they looked at it as, okay, yeah, we're going to ticket you then. Like, what? What? You're going to make my life worse. Knowing it's already been worse. Knowing you're the ones that put me in that situation because you followed through and you listened to these abusive monsters that physically and sexually assaulted me, psychologically manipulated me, and, emotionally scarred me, like I've told everyone. So that's why I sit around with PTSD. That's why I'm very grateful for the donations that I get, because I know I'm not doing well. I could be one of those people sleeping on the park bench. I could be one of those that just fucks for money and this and that. But who wants to see that from Leticia? There are some, really evil people that would love to see that, but that's evil people. God doesn't want to see that, neither does do the godly people. That's why people are encouraging of me. That's why people are saying, keep going. Like, it doesn't matter what the fucking haters say. It doesn't matter what the federal government says either. All this and that. It doesn't matter what all these authoritative figures that were wrong. They mistook everybody else's words, and then they turn around and made me look like a criminal. And when people see me face to face, they're like, I don't want to hurt her. I don't want to keep hurting her. Like, this girl is not in the right state of mind. She gives everything to everyone. She's very giving and loving, and in that sense of, I would offer the police too much information. And they understood that. They knew that. They knew I would comply. But when they switched it around and said that I falsified the rape report, I couldn't handle it. I'm still not going to go and do that. You can find my corpse somewhere. That's my offering to you. That's what you want. That's what you want to do is push me to the fucking brink of extinction because of your stupidity, because you believe it wasn't rape, yet we only met one day and it was at a fucking Airbnb and I didn't fucking consent to that because there's proof through the fucking text messages. And what the fuck are you doing? What kind of sticks are up your asses? What kind of dicks are up your asses that you're not understanding? You're not understanding, like, what truth is. What the fuck? You were supposed to protect and serve. You made an oath for, like, to trust and, to have trust and everything like that. You made oaths. So now that you've broken that promise to me, you've broken my fucking trust, I have no constitutional rights in that way. That's why I tell everyone to fuck off. Because you've already destroyed me. You've already hurt me. It's too much for me to just be compliant anymore. Like, that's what happens. That's why anarchists end up, becoming that. A menace to society, a menace to what they're trying to persuade everyone into believing. This nonsense of living, that it's okay, whatever. You're gonna give my child to a fat fucking woman and a fat fucking father to the fucking baby, and you're gonna let them destroy her through the fucking additives and everything, putting her in public school as well, not giving her the knowledge that she fucking deserves. And then you're gonna look at me like I was a deviant, if I would have had her, if I would have had the money to support her through his fucking actions, if he would have been found guilty of all of this shit that I didn't speak up about then. And they're like, why didn't you speak up? Most victims, no, most victims keep it to themselves and they want to harm themselves because they had no idea that they were even being abused. Like me, it took me years to even recognize what a pedophile was. I didn't know what my dad was a fucking pedophile until I was in my fucking 20s. And then I came across the word, and that's when I realized, and I was horrified. For years I was in shock, and my ex-husband even saw it, where I would just sleep and be crying and over this and understanding that my father was a fucking pedophile. Still is. And he roams around free, and he gets all these fucking privileges. He made it out to be like his children got privileges, too many privileges. He got too many fucking privileges for touching on my tits all the fucking time and pinching at my vagina all the fucking time and always trying to grab at me and then in the middle of the night standing over me in his fucking underwear and shit. No, that is not okay. Every fucking day of my goddamn life, and I just kept it to myself, and I was like, everyone said it's not normal, don't talk about it. No, bitch, it's not normal, but there's plenty fucking normal, because when I speak out to other people, they understand, and they're like, oh, that happened to me too. Wow, our dads are all fucking sick in the goddamn brain, and they need their balls chopped off. Yeah, they do. They do. Castrate all of the motherfuckers, because if I ruled the fucking world, that's exactly what would fucking happen to all the goddamn pedophiles. That's exactly what would happen to the fucking rapists. You keep it to your goddamn selves. We don't need your your DNA floating around, contaminating everything with your nasty perversions. And that's why we have all these fucking zombie monster fucking walking around, all these mutant people. What the fuck? Just a bunch of mutants like me stemming from the fucking devil himself. Someone said something about like, I'm the spawn of Satan. Yeah, obviously my father is a fucking devil. So, a horned beast with hooves. So, I mean, to fuck with someone for that goddamn long, I had it every fucking day. And if he didn't fucking grab my tits because I would cover them and shit, he would slap the back of my fucking neck or some sensitive portion of my body. You motherfucker. I swear to God, if I ever came face to face with my goddamn father, he would end up stabbed to fucking death. And like, I say these things, but they're true. They're what I feel deep down inside. I know I'm supposed to appropriate myself for society, but that doesn't mean that God isn't sort of like filling me with that fiery rage that gets back at people in that way. Because they are going to get smited. They are. Like either now or later or like after the death, after death. Because I am not going to back down. No fucking way am I going to back down. Nor am I going to back down to the father of this child, whatever his fucking name is. You fucking raped me. I have a baby in me. I should have been given privileges. Maybe then I would have shut my fucking mouth and not called you goddamn rapist. But then again, that would be me just submitting. That would be like me sort of like not being that empowered woman that I truly am. And I know I'm very powerful. I know that I've done a lot of things that, I may have looked submissive, but really deep down I'm very dominant in that way. And I understand my personality. I understand that I'm demanding in that way. Like, if you don't fucking do this, then I'm going to fucking get mad. And a majority of the time, I don't get physically violent. A majority of the time, like all the times, unless it's an abuser, then I get physically violent. So, and my siblings have known that, and my parents have known that, and like my ex-husband knew that. So instead of getting physically violent at the time where I was getting assaulted, because it was a state of shock and people didn't see that, they didn't realize that. How did you not realize that you needed to turn around and press charges against those individuals after seeing photos of me bruised and battered and all this stuff, and then you claim that it was because I was on their property? No, you know what? That's fucked up. You can't just state that, they were defending themselves. It was a verbal altercation, and they got physically violent, and that's not okay. And we were family in that way, so I understand it was a domestic dispute, but I got violated physically. I was beaten by 4 of the family members, and you didn't turn it around and place charges against the actual perpetrators. That is sick. That is sick and distorted, and you're all gonna get your fucking karma. For real. For fucking real. That's not okay. So when I spoke out to my ex-husband about it, he was just like, oh yeah, blah, 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 things happen. The same thing when I had explained to him too, when like the doctor fired me from the clinic and everything. He wasn't there to stand up for me. He was in the fucking office that day when the fucking a doctor told me, he walked in. Never met this dude. I was 36 weeks along, I believe, at that time. Have you managed to stop smoking the marijuana? And I said, I stopped smoking when I found out I was pregnant. I said, you should see that from the records. And he was like, we're gonna give you a vaginal check today. I said, can we wait till another time, or can we get some other like a nurse practitioner in here to do it instead? And he was like, if I can't see you down there, no one in this facility can, because all I had was pregnancy Medicaid. So they treat you like fucking cattle. So if I were to come from a fancy place, like if I had money, if I would have had good insurance, they wouldn't have been able to abuse me that way. That was discriminatory, because that was not listening to my sexual like preference in that way. That was, you discriminated against someone that is disabled and has post-traumatic stress due to sexual violence, sexual abuse. So the fact that they got away with that, and he never got fired for it or reprimanded for it or anything like that, he's still practicing, that's not okay. That is not okay. I should own everything he fucking owns and then some, because you do not tell a woman. And I left, instead of taking that abuse, I left, and I said no. I'm like, you're not gonna look down there at me. And that is actually against the law. It is against the law to not abide by a woman's preferences in that way, and you're gonna violate her. No, you're a male doctor. No, I do not trust you. I don't give a fuck what state we're in. I understand that we're in the South, Arkansas is where it was at, but the fact of it is that you're so fucking backwards that you're not looking at fucking women's rights. You're not at all. That's completely distorted. The most fucked up thing that's happened to me, I think, is that a doctor removed me from a clinic right before giving birth, and when I called around to seek fucking assistance at other clinics, they said that I was too far along to be accepted at their clinic. So he endangered me and my child. Where did he expect me to have my child? Expect me to have it at their fucking facility so that he could be on call that day, so he could shove his fingers in my vagina? No. He's a fucking pervert, and we all know that. I mean, the fact of it is that was completely uncalled for, just because I wanted to defend my womanhood, because I wanted to stand up for my constitutional rights in that way as a female, and he denied it. So the fact that I'm not getting paid for this shit, that's insane. That is fucking insane. And if ever it happened to someone else, just understand, if you're poor, you'll never get away with your speaking your voice and getting your voice heard, because I didn't have the money to process it in court. That's the difference. And plus, I went through years of depression and self-harm and self-abuse and like sadness in that way of not understanding why I let this man get one over on me, and it caused pain to my child. And I ended up with preeclampsia that they didn't even fucking test for. So the fact of it is, they endangered me and my child. And I explained that to everyone, and there's proof in all of my records that none of this is fabricated, not at all. So I should be getting paid from the systems. I should be getting paid from the government. Why am I carrying a military baby in that way if I wasn't married to him? That's not okay. That is not okay. Because in my preference, and you don't see me as a human being, I understand that. I'm not a human to you. I'm an animal. So my beliefs don't matter to you. And that's exactly what I was trying to explain through all of my videos, all of my story. My constitutional rights have not been upheld as a citizen of the United States of America, especially a disabled one. So the fact that they're trying to get me on some random bullshit, that's not okay. You're gonna get your fucking karma. You know damn well that I was fucking raped. You know damn well that he did what he fucking did, and you want me not to speak out against it? No, I would rather die. I would rather fucking die than allow you and your fucking people to fucking manipulate and distort my fucking reality any longer. You understand that? Does that make sense to you? Exactly. Do you understand that? Does that make sense to you? I fucking thought so, bitch. So, yeah. I feel like most people don't understand where I'm coming from because they're too stupid to. Yet they're in the positions where they can manipulate my fucking life. So that's why they don't like being talked down to. We're above you. If you talk down to us, we're going to destroy your reality. Yet you're not, which is hilarious because I'm still going strong and I'm still smiling every fucking day and I'm still getting the privileges that I deserve. And regardless of what you presume, you're never going to put me in fucking jail again because I have not done shit fucking wrong. So if you don't see that the other people did shit wrong, then I'm not sure how to fucking help you. You're all fucking deranged. So you're all mentally ill and you're the ones that I speak of on that end of the spectrum that should be actually enclosed in fucking 4 padded walls. That's what you deserve, not me. Being over here just wanting to spread love, just wanted to be myself, just being a good girl, smoking my weed and, wanting my animals and doing what I want. No, that's not mental illness that I don't want to follow suit in your bullshit anymore because you've already offended and lost my fucking trust years ago. All of the systems and all the doctors and all this and that from all this fucking shit that's happened to me, and yet I don't get compensated for it. There's no financial support so I can continually support myself. No, they want to see how far I'll go, speaking my truths and living homeless, doing what I need to do to survive and maintain, and I still have a voice. What are you going to do, strangle me? There's spit on my screen. What are you going to do? Fucking make my life any fucking worse? It already is worse, bitch. What the fuck you think you're gonna do? Aside from, we're gonna take your baby from you when it's born. No, you're not, bitch. No, you're fucking not. And you're not gonna fucking get me in fucking anything. You have to have probable cause. And I give you no reason to put me in jail. I give you no reason to even interact with me, and that's just it. I already know we're tracked and traced. I know everything with the fucking license plates. There's specific numbers to each one of us. We all have our ties to whatever numbers and numerical value that we have to your systems. So if you don't see that I have a greater value than what you first allotted me, then I'm sorry for you. I feel sorry for you, and I will pray for your fucking souls. For real. Which is hilarious because it's like I didn't mean to threaten everyone. I didn't mean to threaten your lives in that way, but it's happening because you've threatened me and you've threatened my offspring and you've threatened my happiness and my own successes. So if I would have had the chance to sit at home and do my entrepreneurial things, I might have gotten to the point where I could have gone to court by now and gotten visitations at the very least, which I tell everyone, why would I have to go for visitations? She came out of my body. She should already be just in my custody, full fucking custody, because that motherfucker doesn't know how to take care of that girl. So, and it's true. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what they think and presume. But behind closed doors, I know she's not getting the attention that she deserves, especially from a loving parent. So he's off, paying more attention to his new wife. He's off paying attention to their kids and everything. He doesn't care about his offspring with me. So you literally allowed this motherfucker to get one over on me so that he could hold her, dangle her over my fucking head for years and years and years. You didn't correct the situation, understanding that these people had actually physically assaulted me and sexually abused me, and you went with their words. Why? I just don't see it. I just don't understand it. I feel like if everybody were in therapy and we had lists of what diagnoses, what disorders they had, and we compiled them, placed them against one another, you saw our demeanor, behind closed doors, what we do, like I'm trying to display. Here's all of me. Here's all the facets of my life. Now you can understand. Let's be a better judge now. Let's lay our cards on the fucking table. All right. Let's look at what you've done. Let's lay everything out. See what you fucking have and what you have to fucking play with. Because I sure as fuck am not playing with people that are bending the rules for everyone else. I'm done. I'm fucking done. So, like I've said before, fuck you people. And I understand that that's very crude. I shouldn't speak like that to the judges, and I shouldn't speak like that to the officers, and I shouldn't speak like that to, the president and all these people in their judicial systems and the government, whatever. No, you're human. No, you destroyed my life. I had plenty of respect for you my entire upbringing, up until now, especially with the rape. That's what fucking made me snap. That's why you get these fucking videos. Now you can see all of Leticia. Now you can understand where the fuck she's coming from, and she just wants to take care of her babies that she was, forced into having, and just have a quiet life and do her own thing and just be respectful and loving toward people. But I can't even do that, because you aren't giving me the opportunity to expand, because you're not taking from those that have taken from me. So instead, you believe I'm just supposed to make up for it. I'm just supposed to forgive and forget and just, you'll manage. No, bitch. No, there has to be some fucking compensation here. There has to be some retribution. There has to be something, because I sure as fuck am not going to struggle any fucking harder. That's why I said the donations, I love you very much. I really do. I love all of you for donating to me so that I can make it through my fucking days without fucking slitting my wrists. And it's like, yes, I shouldn't think of that. I shouldn't want to harm myself because the baby would get hurt. But I don't want to think about the baby in that way, because the baby was forced upon me. The baby doesn't have a father. And yes, I would love to just care for it on my own. That would be great. The way society would look at me, very poorly, because they would say I was a slut, yada yada. Bitch, I've had sex 3 times since I got pregnant with other people. 3 different people. That's how much I fucking hated myself, because I was so upset. I had gone years without having sex with anyone. My doctors know that. They know from the fucking inserting into me, they understand that I'm not being promiscuous. I made sure that I had everything documented and tracked and traced, so that if ever anything like this happened to me, that they would see it from my perspective, that I was just trying to be a good girl, But no, I can't be a good girl, because I'm not the right bloodline. I'm not the right pretty enough. I'm not the right smart enough. I'm not the right financially, stable enough. So that's why nobody wanted to date me either. And that's all I was doing, was just being a companion in that way of finding friendship first. And I knew better than to sleep with him. So why is this happening to me? Why aren't you enforcing something on this man that just should have had his fucking balls chopped off by now? Like, I'm sick and tired of this shit. Men should not get away with this kind of murder, because that is what it is. It's murder. Because if a woman has to go and seek an abortion after that because of his ill-mannered fucking behavior, that is exactly right. He should be fucking trapped behind 4 walls with a fucking straitjacket. And that's exactly what I'm trying to convey. A majority of people in psychiatric hospitals are female because they sustain so much sexual abuse. You know that? And then also, too, the people that were on drugs and all the fucking veterans and all this and that. Do you understand how much you fucked people's lives up? And yet you're off gallivanting, having golf today and having your tea today and having your crumpets and all this and that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? No. Going off and having your own theatrical parties and your big parties and your gatherings, and all this money is spent on everyone else because you were privileged enough to be born into that higher caste system. And it's like, what is wrong with you? Do you not even realize that the caste system goes in order and everything? Like, if you're not up there to help the ones in the bottom, you're gonna be at the bottom. Like, you don't even understand. You just don't even understand. So, and that's why people try to repent right before they pass and make amends with everyone, and they seeking forgiveness for their sins. You know that. People on their deathbed, immediately they're like, I know I'm dying. Like, I need to confess all of this stuff. I need to share. I've been harboring these secrets. And that's what I want to convey to people. Just be transparent. Just tell everyone. Just tell whatever. Just speak out and speak your truth from your perspective. And if people don't like that, then they can fuck off, because they have no understanding of the human mind, and they have no understanding of where you're coming from and the struggles and turmoil you lived through personally yourself. Any bullying, any abuse, any, manipulation, any of that stuff. And they don't understand it. So that's cool. Like, let them be crazy. But they'll get their fucking just rewards, especially on their own fucking deathbeds. And then their children and their offspring will have to suffer 10 times as well. Like, it ends up, it's like a snowball effect. So if those people don't want to give back, that's fine. But imagine what their lives are going to be like, come around or whatever. And we understand about energy now and physics and, the differences in dimensions and things like that. We're starting to understand that as a like I told somebody about mainstream media, like we're starting to get some pieces as those commoners. We're starting to get that information that is leaked out from those higher positions that harbor all the knowledge. And I want to be part of that. Like I want to be one of those people that harbors knowledge so that I can pass it down to the generations. I want to be someone that conveys, integrity throughout the rest of her life, because she's already fallen prey to those sins, especially like through my Catholicism. I direct it toward that because it's great. It's a great metaphor in that way. It's a great analogy in that way of falling into the 7 deadly sins: greed, lust, sloth, wrath, envy, pride, and gluttony. So I just feel like I understand some things in a different perspective than others. They see things that are right in front of them. I see a larger picture. I wish that I could be helpful to society. I wish I could be helpful to more than just the offspring growing inside of me, more than just the people I interact with face to face, more than the people that I, share these videos with that are encouraging and everything, and that understand like, okay, yeah, maybe she's right. Maybe I would be happier if I took better care of my body. Maybe I would be happier if I took better care of my mental health. Maybe I would be happier if I just sought different interactions. Interactions that were more stable and more comforting and therapeutic in that way. And maybe if I went out in nature for a little while and reflected and meditated in that way, people don't like these terms. People don't like the word God. They don't like it in conjunction with the word, the universe and all this and that. Some people are in denial still. And that's very sad. I don't like their closed-mindedness, and I step away from it. And and if I can't get them to understand from my perspective, I know that there are times where I've discussed things with people and it's forced them into acknowledging things that they didn't want to, and it hurt their brains. It hurt them very much to have to think. And I get that. It hurt them psychologically because I was questioning their reality. I was questioning their beliefs and where they stem from. Then they sort of compared us. And I was like, no, don't be comparing us, because I'm already better than you. Like, obviously, I went to my Catholic schools. I got that, privatized education, and it was better than most people. And I wish I would have gone on to universities and stuff, but I didn't have the finances for it. And I would have succeeded had I gone. You had known through my grades that it would have been very, very beneficial for those around me had I been able to expand in that way. But going to the community college and realizing how stupid everyone else was, and realizing I wasn't getting the emotional support that I needed during that time either, and trying to financially support myself drained me especially. How do you expect a young lady to keep her dignity without offering her financial support? How did you expect me to keep my dignity? You just want a fucking America, a United States full of trash people, whores, and mongrels, and cheaters, and all these greedy individuals lusting after cash. And how was I supposed to survive appropriately? And I understood that there were credit cards I opened up that, I shouldn't have opened up, like the one for Victoria's Secret, but it was because I was trying to seek out my womanhood, my sexuality finally, own it, because of all the abuse that I sustained growing up. So that's why I was defiant and started wearing more provocative clothing as I was getting older, because I was defiant because I wasn't allowed to as a child. And if I ever wore anything provocative, I would get molested by my father or my brother. It was not fair. And then even my brother's friends that came and, would try to manipulate me in that way. And so, like, even his friend, Umar, we went to Catholic school. He was my first sexual encounter, where I had actually given him head in my bedroom. That's because he was like, he coerced me into it and whatever. And I was only, 16 at that time. So that was my first sexual interaction, I believe. And, you can't expect that it's okay, because it wasn't like I was technically seeking it. It was because my mind had already snapped because of all the abuse, and it wasn't my fault. if I were to get to that support, and even at that time, I wasn't getting therapy because my parents didn't allot that. So I went to therapy when I was like in grade school, you know, counselors and things like that. And then when I got into high school, I didn't have that opportunity. Instead, they just took me to a psychiatrist and they, you know, shoved me full of, well, actually it was our regular doctor, and they pumped me full of Zoloft, which made me a zombie so that I would be compliant to my family and just not speak up about the abuse. So that's why I explain to people, no, you need to confront your abusers. You need to confront your issues. You need to confront, you know, these traumas, and you need to do it without the medication for a while so that you can understand and go through that anger, the rage, the breaking things, the screaming at people. You know, you need to go through that. That's cognitive behavioral therapy, to confront your fears, confront those ailments, those hatreds toward things, because that's healthy. That is extremely healthy to understand that those things were not okay, that those issues, that those circumstances, those individuals were not healthy in that sense, and they forced themselves on you and your psyche, and that's what developed your issues, your diagnoses. That's what caused me to have these issues. So just because I went to therapy to seek that, everyone's like, oh no, see, your family's fine. They don't have any diagnosis. They didn't need to go to therapy. That makes me laugh. And then you're going to look at it after 6 years or so of my divorce with my ex-husband, and you're going to see that he didn't go to therapy. He wasn't abused. He wasn't the victim. And here I have been seeking all this stuff because I am like I'm like shaking, and like in that sense, like how did they get over on me again? How did these abusers abuse me more again? And this man went off and got married to someone else after he fucking manipulated me into the divorce and everything. And he said he didn't believe in the constructs of marriage. So how is it that you signed over that signature, that marriage? How is it that their marriage is even viable if he believes that he doesn't believe in the constructs of marriage? I don't get that. That's interesting to me. But then again, he left me with 2 loaded guns, 1 shotgun and 1 handgun. And, you know, and there's proof of that. There's definitely proof of that. And you allowed this man to manipulate and abuse me. He didn't go and seek any kind of therapy. He didn't seek any kind of help or anything. You know he wasn't abused. You know he wasn't the victim. And I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for you guys to understand it from my perspective so I can get my things back, my Tootsie, because that's not okay. 6 fucking years. Anybody would have snapped by now. And I understand when military people go off and they're overseas, they can't see their children, they can't interact. Now they're able to do like internet interactions which is good for their emotional stability. But where's my emotional stability when I haven't gotten any information about my child aside from me just sort of like trolling the internet trying to find information about her? You know, not trolling, but like stalking the internet or whatever. That's not okay. That is not okay. The fact that they didn't reach out and offer for me to have some form in her life, some connectivity, that is abuse to the child. That is complete and utter abuse to the child. You look at all the information, the paper records and everything of all these facilities that I went to, and it's on record that I was the only one maintaining my child, that I was the only one that went to these visits. I was the only one that actually took her to speech therapy, because even after a while, my ex-husband didn't take her. He was neglecting her speech therapy. And so I don't understand why you're not seeing it from my perspective yet. I don't see why I don't have my little house, my little cabin in the woods with my Tootsie and my new baby, and fuck all the men, and you can castrate them, please. I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm pleading for something that is just not happening yet. And I'm like, oh my God, am I in the wrong dimension? Am I in the wrong fucking realm? I thought I had constitutional rights. I thought I had rights as a female now. I thought, you would listen to me when I would finally speak up. Like when I was 18 and you didn't file those fucking reports against my father. Why is this happening? Is it because I'm going to end up a fucking billionaire from this? I would hope so, because that's as much money as I need in order to stabilize myself. And you know damn well that I would offer a shit ton of it back to those types of organizations, or even start my own, that would help individuals that are going through stuff like this, individuals that are true victims, individuals that are, you know, seeking to be transparent and genuine and truthful and honest. I love people like that. And yet I'm mistreated like I'm a liar. Get over yourselves. You need to find something better to do, and you also need to take and reprimand the people that need to be reprimanded in my particular story. And I know I'm not very special. I understand that. I just have a lot of talents. I'm very articulate. I understand these things from a perspective that most victims don't understand. You know, it's weird because I know that it happens, but I can't. It's almost like when I detach, I just cannot fight back. The same thing with what happened with Jason Wallace. I felt my hand move. I felt it move. I thought, there's no way, you're sleeping, you're in a dream, you're fine. And then by the time it was already penetrated inside of me, I felt something, of course, because I was dreaming it, you know, in that way of like, oh, that feels so good. But, you know, because I haven't had sex like that, you know, like I haven't had sex, and especially because he was being very gentle so he could get away with it. You know, that's how they do it. They just like, okay, well, I'll get away with this if I'm gentle with her, and she won't ever say a single thing to anybody. Well, that is what happened. You know, he was gentle, and I wasn't going to say anything because I was like, at first I cried, yeah, but it wasn't about the pain. It was about the assault itself. It was because he penetrated me without my consent, and that hurt very much emotionally, and that's why I cried. You're making me feel bad. You're making me feel bad. If I'm making you feel bad, that's your own conscience eating away at you, or trying to tell you something that you did wrong, and you shouldn't have touched me like that, and you should have given me the opportunity to choose you. Instead, we made a baby, and we just had no choice in the matter because we had a lot of chemistry, and I understand that because I did love you, like in that way, like Jason Wallace, you know, like I did love him, but I love everyone. So then it hurt even worse because I was like, oh my God, I let you in, and I shouldn't have ever let you in. And also too, when I have sex with people willingly like that, it's sort of like giving them a piece of my soul and giving them a piece of my heart in that way. And it's like, I liked you at first, and then you just ignore me, you ghost me for nothing. Like, you ghost me after I'm carrying your baby, and then you tell me not to contact you. Those are such hurtful words. Like, that was so hurtful. I feel so fucking just used, like a fucking used sock. That's what it feels like. Just a rag doll. And then to know that I can't fight back with my words, that you guys aren't filing those reports, and it's like a huge picture behind everything, and I understand that, like, and then that's why you shut my videos off from certain people, and like you don't allow it access to stuff. I get that, because there's something going on that I don't see face to face. I get that. You guys have to figure out something so that somebody gets shut up here, you know, but I know that you don't want to hurt me, because that's why you haven't put me in jail yet. And I get that, and I appreciate that. Because I don't want to go to jail. What did I do? I don't understand. I just want to be honest. I've been seeking all this stuff for so many years. Why is nobody helping me? Nobody fully helps me. They just give me this stupid shit about running around and like, go find this, go file this, and whatever. No, you do it. I'm done. I just want to go cry and take a nap. It's probably part of the caffeine. Why? There's a cute little bird right there. I hate you people so much. Quit hurting me just so that you can get a story out of it. Okay. Anyway, and it's already been an hour. I'm gonna get off of here because I want to try to spend some time in nature without this fucking phone on me, and reflect on all these thoughts even more, and cry. Maybe walk over to the dog park to see if anybody will let me touch their dog. That's why I catch my tears on video, so you guys can fucking eat them. Fuck you. Fuck you. Evil monsters. You act like this is weakness.
having emotions is strength, because I understand more than most people, and that's why I understand about engagements and this and that, and how I wasn't supposed to trust Jason, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Ugh, you're all monsters. Fucking military men, all fucking monsters. And I can't say that for everyone. I see some disabled veterans all the time. They're sweeties. They're really nice. They learn their lessons about, you know, abusing women many years ago and all this and that, or they just weren't abusive at all, and really good people. So I see a lot of veterans that I like, a lot of older ones and stuff, and that they like me and they like my company because I'm just a funny sort of like granddaughter figure to them in that way, which is nice when they treat me like that. It's not nice when they treat me like a sex object and like I'm your grandchild's age, like leave me alone. And so that's why even when I talk to some people, I can tell if they're engaged with me sexually or if they're engaged with me just on an intellectual level, which is nice because I like the companionship, and that's why I don't mind talking to just anyone and everyone. Last night there was a man that pulled up next to me, and I'm not gonna lie about the way that people look and everything like that. I try to be as descriptive as possible in an unbiased way, as well as somebody that is just describing what they see. So this man had a gold chain that was around his neck. He was in his vehicle. He parked right next to me, which was odd because I was at one of the facilities overnight, and this is at midnight. And he looked like a thug. I'm not trying to be rude. I mean, he wasn't a thug, obviously, in that way. He was a very nice person. He pulled up right next to me, I guess because I had been sitting there for the hour when I recorded and everything like that, and then was uploading. And then I had my head down because I was very sad and in my thoughts. And he pulled up and he rolled down his window because I had my windows open, and he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, and I just nodded, yeah. But he saw I was really sad. I wasn't really making eye contact. And he was like, okay. And he just sat in his vehicle next to me. And I didn't feel threatened at all in that way. For a moment, maybe, I thought, why is he up here? Why is he doing that? But then, you know, he didn't approach me in a negative way right away. So I was just like, okay. And that's why I give people all the benefit of the doubt, regardless of how they dressed or looked. I think he even had like, either it was a do-rag or I guess it was a cap. I can't remember. And then he had the gold chain and then the black on, it was all black, and he could have been somebody that could have hurt me, but I didn't think of it that way. I thought of him just as a person, and I thought of him as like maybe he was there because he wasn't going inside right away. He was just sitting there, and then he put his headphones on. He had like Beats or whatever, and he put those on, and then I just sort of like, okay, well, you better get in there and brush your teeth. So I didn't even feel scared when I was walking in front of his vehicle. I was just sad and in my own head, and he didn't holler at me or anything like that. He didn't do anything weird. So it was actually nice. It was a nice encounter because he asked me if I was okay. And most people would be scared by that, especially a little white girl sitting in her car, you know, all alone. And, you know, like, I'm not intimidated by people. Why would I be? Like, either you're gonna do good right by me or you're gonna do wrong by me, and either way you'll get fucked over, you know? And not either way, but if you do anything negative to me, you're gonna get fucked over. And it's not even by me. And I tell everyone, like, you might want to watch out, because like my ex-husband used to say that he heard voices when I was with him when we were together. So you're gonna tell me that I'm schizophrenic? Let me tell you a couple things, because he told me that at one instance when I was sleeping that he heard the word water whispered into his ear, and he thought that I had maybe said it from the other room, but I was fast asleep. And when I'm fast asleep, I generally don't talk in my sleep or anything. Plus we were on one end of the trailer and the other. So I was there sleeping in the bed, and he said someone whispered in the ear that was closest to the wall, not the hallway, water, you know, like water. And he thought I was calling out for it, because when I was pregnant, that was the time I was pregnant, that he heard that. And then I was off with my sister one time garage sailing when I was pregnant, and yard sailing, whatever you call it, garage, whatever. And when he was in the shower, he had come out of the shower and the door was open or whatever, and he heard, it sounded like women talking in the
living room, and he thought I was back with my sister. And so he said he got dressed and hurried up and got out there, and there was no one there. And he was like, did you come back at some point and then leave? I said, no, you were all alone. And he's like, oh my God, like I heard people talking. I thought it was you and your sister. And then I went into the living room. There was no one there. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's weird. And so, because we had played with the Ouija board a couple times, and I thought maybe that had something to do with it, but I really do believe that maybe it's me. Maybe it's something to do with me in general that brings upon this to other people. So, brings these things. So, and I didn't make him schizophrenic. Either he's schizophrenic or he was hearing ghosts or some shit that are attached to me. So at one point, when he said he was in the back room or in the bathroom at one point, he said, and I was gone another time, or it might have been even the same time though with me and my sister. I think it might have been a different time though. He said he heard some woman in the living room. He said he thought it was me, and the dogs were barking incessantly. Just barking. That startled me, the horn. And because this story is kind of weird too, where he said that he heard a woman clearly tell the dogs to shut up, and then they shut up. And then he got out there, because I think he was taking a dookie at that time actually, and then when he got out to the living room, I wasn't there. There was no one there. And that's horrifying, because and that's why I kept dogs around me, because I knew that I had like an energy that drew energies to me, and that's why I was avoidant and very, agoraphobic, because I knew the more places that I went, the more I would attract, the more, all these things, right? So like I keep saying about like a moth to a flame type instances, but even when we played the Ouija board, I had clearly in my mind thought that he was messing with the board. Him and I, we played it a few times. I would say less than 20 times together. And at one point, I wrote down every single interaction I had with the people on the board and what they had said and what it was and everything like that out of respect. And there were 12 instances that I had written down of what encounters we had. And even one moment where it had said to us, I said, well, is there anything you want to tell me? And it said, be happy. So I thought for sure it was my ex-husband fucking with me. For sure. But I don't know if he was. And I never got to ask him fully, because I can't trust his words anyway. He's a liar, so there's no way he would have told me the truth about it. He probably just would have, at that point, just made me believe it so that I could just, so he could appease me. Because that's how I could see after the years we were together for 5.5 years, he didn't like me. He didn't like me at all. He was using me from the very beginning, and I realize that now from all the interactions, that he was, even when I would break up and kick him out of my house, that he would kiss my ass for that moment. And I knew we weren't supposed to be together in that way, because he was not the type of person I could see myself with in a long term. And the way his demeanor was, and he was actually very pretentious, because he would find these things online and persuade me that he was more intelligent than he actually was. And that was the sad part, is that I honestly believed it for a little while, because he would offer me the physical attention that I needed, which was sex, when I was in a relationship, and I would have copious amounts of it, because it would help me to stabilize my moods. And I enjoyed it with that person, and it didn't really stabilize my moods. It really didn't. It caused a lot of friction, actually, between me and that person, because then they believed that the sex was all I wanted, or vice versa, and that caused a lot of issues. So then later on, when I was seeking a new relationship, I realized I couldn't place that first. So place sex as put on the back burner, so that it didn't really matter. I didn't ask men about their penis sizes. I didn't ask any of that stuff. There was no sexting involved. There was for a couple years after the divorce, where I was on so many psychiatric medications that I didn't know my worth. And I was just trying to get any kind of attention that I possibly could, because at the time I was so overweight that I knew that I was definitely horrifying looking. And even now with my weight gain from the pregnancy, I know how hideous I am. I know especially how gross I look without makeup and without my, fineries of straightening my hair and my pretty fancy clothes and whatever that I get on clearance. Yeah, I know I look horrible today, like in that way where if somebody were to look at me, they don't think that I'm that cute compared to some days. I know the difference in the way people look at me, and they look down on me for my natural aesthetics. So yeah, it's interesting, but I'm just too self-aware for people to even try to harass now, because I already know my flaws, and that's the difference. Most people are in denial of their flaws. They think they're perfect and whatever. That's where you end up with issues and mental health issues. And I understood that from those years of being on those pharmaceuticals, that was hindering my progression into seeing myself for what I truly was. And not a lot of people can handle the way I look. I look weird to people. Big ears, big nose, scowl on my mouth because of that, frown lines, and my curly hair gets wild like a poodle. And I'm frumpy, some days I'm frumpy and fat looking. So I know what I look like. I'm not dumb. And that's why I just sort of own it regardless and have that self-confidence that people wish they had. I feel sorry for people that don't have that and turn around and try to abuse others, and even those pretty fancy people that look down on everyone for not having that pretty fancy body, because we lived through things that you didn't, because we actually suffered through pain that you didn't. We suffered through a lot of things that you could never understand because you didn't detach like we did and weren't forced to detach like we had to. So forced to be compliant in a world of these monsters, because we were considered a monster ourselves. You were just born with the aesthetics and the privileges that we were not, and also the financial backing and emotional support generally from your families. So that's sad. And even if you're born into it and you're pretty and you're in a low income lifestyle in that way, if you're born into low income circumstances and you're not excelling in the way that the world wants you to, or society, they're just going to leave you behind, and that's how you end up a prostitute or a stripper. So I understand that, and everybody goes through these things, and then they find confidence within their body and being able to expose it, and I'm just not like that. I prefer to keep my body to myself, but now I've realized, well, since everybody's got a body and everybody's got this and that, I shouldn't fear showing mine off because of the progress I've made of the weight loss. And progressively I was getting more confident to be able to share my body in that way, even with its flaws and the distortions that have happened through my psychological distortions. And it all shows on people. It shows on people's bodies and their faces and their demeanor and their actions. That's why I know that it would have been good if I would have become a therapist. It would have been good if I would have become some type of health coach or lifestyle coach in that way, to help individuals to see their flaws and not to belittle them in that way, but to confront them and work on them slowly day by day, so that they can acknowledge and be confident within them and understand, own your flaws. It's okay. The world has their flaws too. They just hide them. They only place what they want to on social media. They don't place all of it. They don't place all the things that that are actually going on in their lives. They don't place the things that are negative, because they don't want to share those with people, because they're not self-aware. And that's very sad, extremely sad, because most people need to understand where they're coming from themselves and why people engage with them in a certain way as well. So it's very, very discouraging when you end up having interactions with individuals that aren't fully open, fully transparent, fully genuine. So I feel really bad for some people that they don't understand. I feel really bad that some people don't acknowledge their flaws and aren't owning it. Like even with this mole on my forehead and stuff, there were times where I was so perfect looking when I was growing up, so my aesthetics were great, and people would pinpoint What is that? What's this on your hand? Is that dookie? You know, you got a crooked tooth. You know, one boob's bigger than the other. You know, your eyes, one kind of has a droopiness to it, you know, and you got big ears, you know, this and that. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Well, then why the fuck are we talking? Why the fuck, if you believe that my aesthetics have anything to do with this, why the fuck did you start talking to me? Oh, so that you could get your dick wet. I get that. Stay the fuck away from me. And I knew from like many years ago. So, and when you start rejecting them because they know that they can't engage intellectually with you, that's when they start pinpointing these flaws. So it actually is those stupid people that are aggressive and so ignorant that they cannot get beyond aesthetics. They can't get beyond that because they have nothing behind here. They only have their aesthetics and that's it. They only have their physical features and whatever to offer the world around them. And they don't have any brain. They don't have any actual like intellect to share or knowledge that is relevant to other people. And when you start talking and you realize you're so much smarter than others and they have nothing to say, that's when they end up hating you, because they're so jealous and they're so hateful, and they don't even realize within themselves that they are. And that's sad because they're lacking emotional intelligence. So yeah, it's interesting how inadequate people are, but they make it out to be like they've got so much confidence because they look a certain way and they act as, you know, they're, you know, financially supported and, you know, oh, my parents, blah, 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 and they've got all the love that they want, but then they don't offer it back. They just take. There's so many families that I've met and they're like, I wish you were my daughter. I wish, you know, like, I wish you were my kid. Like, you're such a sweetie. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know, I'm just here to help. And I'm just here to love. And they're like, it hurts them. It really does. There's so many older people too that I come in contact with that are like, wow, you know, your parents did not appreciate you. Your parents did not appreciate the love that you have to offer. Your parents and, you know, the people around you. And there's so many people that say, I wish you were part of my family. I wish you were part of this and that. I was like, me too. Like, that would be amazing. I love you too. And so, like, to all of my subscribers that are actually real and all the people that watch me that are actually real human beings, I love you very much. And I love you just for being you. And I hope that you understand that not everyone is out to hurt you, because that's how I feel too. Like, I can't trust. But opening up your heart, you know, day by day, it's hard because you have to, like I said, confront those issues, and then it becomes easier over time to be more accepting of the world around you and yourself and others and all that. So anyway, I think I'm just done with my rambling. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. I love you very much. Today is May 18th, 2022. If you'd like to send donations, I would appreciate it because it would help me, but I'm not like trying to ask in that way because I know not everybody is financially stable. There are lots of people that have extra money and they're just like, oh, here's money for a meal. And that's always appreciated by me because, like, that's all I really have right now. I don't have a home. I don't have anything. My parents didn't love me. But then everybody else's parents seem to like me pretty well because I'm always there to be helpful, and, you know, it's all I can be. It's all I have to offer is my companionship. And that's why I said on my online dating apps, and that's why I started the professional cuddling. I didn't want people to really touch me, but that's what helped me too, to confront my fear of individuals touching me. It's a bird over there. I thought it was maybe a person walking. Look at that park bench. It's like floating in the water. It's like falling in. That's why I don't care if I look like a buck-toothed crazy person, because it's like, okay, see whatever you want to see, but some people don't see that at all. They see a good girl that is just striving to better herself and to be helpful and loving to the world around her. Because that's, like I said, all I have is my companionship right now. All I have are my words of encouragement as well, and that's all I have to barter with. It's myself, my body, and this and that. And that's why the cuddling didn't work out very well for me, because it was too much. It was a lot of demanding, you know, physical contact, and I'm not really familiar with good touch. So that's where it there's a fine line between abuse and assault and all this and that, and even the moments where they ask me, like, if you get naked, can I pay you for that? And I had detachments at that moment, so it actually hurt me psychologically to do that for the money. But then I thought, you have to build confidence within yourself so you can show off your body to the right person one day anyway, and just show them, because it's all distorted from all the weight loss, and you're ugly anyway. That's all I could think of at those times, and that's why I did it. That's why I took the money, to show them my body, and that's not okay to me. To me, it's just, I always feel bad for that. It always makes me feel less than when I got like, $80 for them to see me naked for a little while, 5 minutes or so, or whatever. That's not okay. Why? Why do I have to give something to the world when it hasn't offered to me in the same way? It hasn't offered me the love that I've been craving and deserving of. So it's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I love you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Excuse me. It's that coffee. I got a little bit of heartburn now. I had the chia, it was so good. Very, very tasty. I loved it very much. The coffee was tasty too, because they put extra of the syrup in it. Don't sting me. Well, May 18th, 2022. Leticia Collins Servin. Everyone have a wonderful Wednesday? Hump day. Hump day. I wish I had a partner. I'm crazy. I don't mind that I say these things aloud. I don't mind that I say it publicly either, because there's a lot of people that like to joke around like that too. Yesterday, when I was sitting there at the table right before I started recording myself eating the salad, the owner came in and he was holding 2 watermelons. He was carrying them in his arms in front of him, and I said, I couldn't help it. He walked up and we had a conversation prior, so I knew how nice he was before, because he was telling me about the fresh produce that they have and all this and that, and I was like, yeah, I love this place, you have no idea. And I'd been there quite a few times for the salads. So he had these melons, and I said, as he was walking in, his wife and his daughter were behind him, but I knew only he could hear me, and because he was walking in front, I said, nice melons. He laughed. He was like, yeah, as he smiled. He was like, yeah, because, I'm sure it made his day that it was just some random person just like, acknowledging that it's funny. That is pretty funny, because I know that, sexually demeaning someone is not okay, but since he was a man and he was holding melons, I thought it was hilarious. So, and he did too, because he smiled and didn't have an issue with it. So, but that's how we are. It's very crude in this day and age, and when we come up with these sexually empowering jokes, as well as sexually demeaning in that way, it is funny. I like to joke around about these issues because it's a good way of combating the pain, combating the stress, and combating the negative feelings that you get from this stuff. So that was really funny. I make people laugh all the time. Hello. Hi. He's like, oh, I thought you were eating, but you're not. I'm leaving. All right, I love everybody very much. May 18th, 2022. Leticia Collins Servin. I love you. Bye-bye.